Try and catch statements. I want to walk you through the try and catch statements, and basically we used try and catch statements to bulletproof our programs. So if we've got any risky code that could actually crash the program, we can embed or wrap that in a try statement. So if it does fail, we're not actually going to crash the program. We can catch the errors and then continue on. So I've got a sample program set up here. Let's just real quick walk through the variables. Okay, I have a few variables set up here. I have a char, okay, that we've initialized to the letter N. I've got a string variable for input. I've got a double. I've got another string, and then I've got another char. And then we're going to initialize ZZ and store the string dog in there. Okay, and I've got a scanner set up. So let's move farther down into our code. So here's my first example for our try statement here. So the syntax is try. It has a set of braces. It's followed by a catch, followed by, in parentheses, exception E. And the E is actually going to catch the system error message. Okay, and then we have this optional component right here, finally. And finally basically works as this. If any code that is where we have a try, finally will always work. So it doesn't matter if you've got code that runs in here, finally will always run. Okay, and this is optional. So you can just basically use a try and catch, but if you have a try statement and you have finally, this will always run if you've entered code into here. Now, I want to point something out here. We'll just sort of walk through here. We'll see the error and see how it works. So I've got this risky code right here. So I've got, this is a char. What we're basically going to do is we're going to pull out a char at position 5 from ZZ. Now remember, ZZ is holding the string of dog. Okay, so it's got a position 1, a 0, position 1, position 2. Okay, there is no 5. Okay, no 5. So there's nothing out there for a position 5, so this will actually err. Okay, so when it errors, it won't get to this line of code. Okay, it will immediately jump down to the catch. Okay, so if I want to show the system error message, I can do this. System out print line E, and this will show the system error message. This is optional. I don't have to do that. Okay, if I want to write my own error message, I can do that here. You had an error, try again. Okay, so we can write our own code out here. We can write our own error messages. If there's any like other types of coding that we may have to do, we can put those other lines of code in here to deal with the error in here as well. And then this will always run. So no matter whether I had the error or not, finally will always run. And a lot of times you use this in database systems, or if you're connecting out to another external data source. So you can try the code, but then you can usually close your connections in the finally. And that's usually how that's used. So that's the first example of a try statement. Okay, it's just made up of 3 components of the try. Okay, and any code that can fail, we're going to put that between the try braces. It must have a catch, okay, and it followed by the exception E. Okay, you got to have that. And then we have some braces here. So this is the code that we're going to deal with if they have the error. So we can show the error message. We can write our own message. We can write any other code required. And then finally, this is optional. Okay, this will always run. So if you're using the try statement, this will always run, and this is optional. Okay, so it's optional. All right, let's look at another example. I've got another example set up here where we're going to loop a while statement. And I want to point out what's working up here. So we've got our while statement going on here. Okay. Now I've got this code right here. We're going to ask them to enter a number. Okay. And then we're going to look for the next double. So here's the scenario. I'm asking for a double. They enter an A. Okay. Is A a double? No, it's not. So it will error. Okay. We'll catch the error here. Okay. Once again, I have the option of printing out the system error, or I can print my own. Or depending on our code, we can write any other code to deal with that error. Okay. Now, at this moment in time, if I've typed the letter A, that's in the keyboard buffer, okay? So it's in the keyboard buffer when I hit the scan next double. But guess what? The scanner is going to ignore that because it's a double and I've entered an A. Okay. So let's come down to the next line. Now let's just assume that this wasn't here. Okay, so if that wasn't there, we jump down to the system out and it says scan next. Okay, so it says it's going to show this and it's going to scan next from that keyboard buffer. Okay, so the user right now is already looking back. This scan next is looking back to that A. Okay, so that's already been entered from the keyboard. It's going to read that A, jump down, pull the char out, and immediately jump up to our while statement. Is A not equal to Y? That is true, so it immediately jumps down into enter a number. To the user, it will have looked like we have jumped and missed that step. Would you like to quit? Okay, so they entered an A, that's in the buffer, it wasn't a double. It comes down to here, the scan next already sees that A, reads it in, and it jumps up there. So how can we fix that? How can we clear that buffer? Well, what we can do then is if I enter an A in here, okay, and it's not the right, it's not a double, okay, so it ignores it, but it's still in the buffer, I can use this. I can put a scan next line. So it's going to read that value from the keyboard buffer. It's not going to store it anywhere. So now when we get down to here, it's going to print out our message. Would you like to quit? Okay. And now I'm going to enter something from the keyboard, and the scanner will properly read that, my response, and then act accordingly. Okay, so something I just wanted you to be aware of that. So you may want to test your try statements out, but here's a case here where we still had something in the buffer, and this is how we would clear that out of the keyboard buffer. So that is how you can use try and catch statements in Java. They must always have a try, and a try must always have a catch, and the catch must always have, in parentheses, exception E. So those are try and catch statements in Java.